Hey everyone, this is Nick from Houseplant. Today I'm going to be going through and doing the good, the bad, and the ugly. That just means the plants that are looking good that I'm enjoying, plants that are looking ugly but otherwise, have the solid fundamentals, they're doing all right, the roots are healthy, and then the plants that are a mess and I need to do something about. Let's do that today, I think. And of course I've got my little helper with me. What am I going to start with? First one I want to talk about is my Eastern grass. Reason I want to share it is I'm getting the first leaf in my care. Trying to hide my face. See it in there. And obviously, of course, it's flowering. This will be the second flower I have, so definitely going to be pollinating. This plant's also mothered many times before. So yeah, I'm very excited that it's finally going to have a leaf in my care, first of all. And then second of all, I'm going to get to do some pollinating on it. So yeah, I'm very, very excited. Here's the Eastern dress. Another one that's doing really well is this red velvet hybrid of Regal and Dressler I created by Jay Vanini. It just switched to Cataphyll. So this is going to be, this is the leaf that came with Cataphyll right here, this emergent. So after this leaf, I'm expecting a pretty big size up with the first official Cataphyll leaf. I gave it a big up pot. All in all, this one's doing real well. I'm very glad because my experience with the same hybrid, but the Voodoo Child, was totally different from the red velvet. And now between the two, if you can't decide, I mean, personally I'd go with the red velvet. I prefer the look, and also it's just been so much easier in my experience. I'm not going to talk about this one, but here's my five. I'll get a good shot for you guys.
Wait, do you need me out of frame?
Here's my 5x10 Carla. It's the one I call Arachne. Always a stunner, always doing well. Just an all-around good plant. I mainly need it out of the way for the next plant. Here's another one that's doing really well. This is my Nove DF. I mentioned it in the last video that I skipped a watering and it didn't flower for me. It's now doing 2 flowers and a new leaf with a fresh reservoir change. So the thing is decided to overachieve, which I really like to see. Such a special plant to me. Here is another one that's doing incredible. It's my King of Spades. Reason I'm including it in this video, and I'm so thrilled about it, is I'm getting my first viable looking flower. It attempted to flower once before this and it rotted it, but this one is on its way out and I am so excited. Ever since I got this plant I've wanted to breed with it, and it's finally starting to happen many years later. It took me a while, but finally I'm gonna get to start playing with it. I am just so excited, and I'm checking that flower like every day to make sure it's okay. And I feel like the big thing with getting your King of Spades to flower is just getting it huge, and it can take a really long time. Other than that, I don't really have any tips for it. I'd say the leaf is probably, why don't I just measure with a measuring tape and I can tell you how big the leaf is. The leaf is 14 inches wide by 16 inches long. And so measuring from the top of the lobes, and then obviously the width at the widest part. So it's a pretty big plant. I'm gonna take a break from plants that are doing well to talk about an ugly one. So this plant is all healthy, just not looking the hottest. This is my Papilolaminum long bullet. Let me turn, hopefully not. You can see a good root hiding on the surface there, or I guess not hiding, popped out on the surface. Got that emergent showing the characteristic like horseshoe sinus. The reason this plant is ugly is simply because it's, it's rehabbing after being shipped and getting here to Canada. Some damage on the emergent leaf. It was in a sea of plants and fought its way out. But it's been doing really well. I'm getting a flower from it, new leaf. So I think it's taken well to my mix, and it should be getting itself sorted very soon. I figure since it's a pap, once it settles, it's going to grow pretty fast. Here is my long bullet. Here's another one that is ugly, ugly, ugly. This is my Bevet Varietalochii. I downpotted it from a bucket. The bucket, I think, was just so wide that the new leaves were struggling to get up and over it, so they were dragging. Like this seam here, and some of these other ones are caused from rubbing on the edge of the pot. I've noticed this Bevet in particular is so sensitive to being touched when it has emergence. It's why it's almost perpetually on the ugly train. So I'm hoping now with a smaller pot I'll be able to do a better job protecting the emergence. I think when it does the next one, I'm probably going to try and use like polyfill to protect it. Yeah, I mean, it's flowering, it's happy, it's made me a ton of hybrids. It just seems to be a little bit more sensitive. Other than that, it's a really good plant. Here we've got one that it looks better. Here is my debilis. So this guy has been acclimating to the tent. Before it moved to the tent, I had it in a bin. So a bin, you know, is like 100% humidity, no airflow. Then when it was putting out this leaf, I moved it to the tent. So this leaf, it's showing a little bit of yellow ringing, and that's just from the changing conditions and humidity. Right after I moved it from the bin to the tent, I filmed my tour video, so I had my tent doors open for a few hours. So this thing was sitting at like 40% humidity, and it like noticeably crisped while I was filming. And some of the places that were yellowing is now turned to browning. It's got a new leaf on the way, and it's surprisingly okay, it seems. It doesn't look like there'll be too much damage to it. So I'm hoping that as it puts out foliage in the tent, those leaves will be more resilient to the changes in humidity and airflow, and will hopefully not crisp up as much as the ones that came from the bin. It's got a nice leaf on the surface. Leaf on the surface. It has a nice root on the surface and is otherwise doing, like, it's healthy. It's just, I'm hoping I can have those really nice stabilis leaves grow for me in the tent. If it doesn't work out and the tent doesn't seem to be doing all that good for it, I definitely probably will move it back to a bin. But in the meantime, I'm going to give growing it in a tent a go. Got our first bad entry. It's my Villanorum. I mean, look at it. Ugly, 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 ugly. Do I care? Maybe not. Mainly got this one for its pollen. It's making me flowers. Just its roots aren't the happiest. Its foliage is obviously not the happiest. I haven't quite cracked the code on what it wants. I should probably research where it grows in nature, but I haven't gotten around to doing it for this one. It grows and makes me ugly leaves and flowers. So could be worse, but could also be significantly better. I just gotta play around a little bit more with its conditions. It has really thick roots, so I've been thinking about potentially trying it in leca and giving that a go. See if perhaps the chunkier area medium will give it a little bit of a better chance. Here we've got sort of the plant that inspired this video. This is my no ID species. It's, I chopped off its most recent leaf because it was having some fungal issues. Like I was saying, that's what really made me decide to do this video. I reorganized my tents a little bit, and in the process, one of my fans stopped working. So for a little bit over, for more than, for a couple weeks, the tent, one of the tents was up without a fan, and the other tent, like, I was barely running the fan because I was worried it was making funny noises. So, had to replace them both, obviously. And while I was doing the tents with no fans, I started getting a bit of a fungal issue on the leaves of some of my plants, just mostly on the emergence. And this one was definitely the one that got it the worst, so I'll insert a picture of what that looked like. And that was just from weeks and weeks of no airflow in a sealed environment. And the plants just simply weren't used to that. Like, you can definitely grow anthurium in those no airflow environments, but if the plant isn't acclimated to it, it will, the sudden change can cause like fungus overgrowth essentially. All is well, it didn't spread to any other leaves, and so I just cut it off because it was ugly. I also gave the plant a repot. Now that I know what its max size is, I thought it would get a little bit bigger, so I had it in the big bucket pot, but took the opportunity to give it a repot down to one of these 8-inch pots. Okay, like I was saying about the fungal issues caused by my broken fans, I did go and end up replacing them, and I went with the AC Infinity fans, and the AC Infinity also has this controller. And so let me just show you guys. Here we've got one of those fans, they're on right now. So it swivels back and forth, and using the controller I have it set up right now to run for 10 minutes every hour, and then obviously turn off for 50 minutes and then turn back on for 10 minutes. And I have it doing that all day. I installed them yesterday, so I don't have months and months worth of experience to share or to see if it's resolved my issues. However, if I'm continuing to notice fungal issues, I'm just going to increase the time on versus time off, and I should be able to dial it in there. It's hard because, not all the plants really want that intensive airflow all the time. Some of them do. So you got to sort of balance when you're growing all these different species in the same environment. And I'll put a picture in of the controller. It's currently tucked in right here because it lives on the window of this tent, and I'm using one controller to control the fans in both tents. However, it only gives me the probe conditions for this tent, but the tents hold essentially the same humidity and temperature. And I've got a thing in the other tent to show me what its conditions are. All in all, really enjoying the system. It was super easy to set up, and would highly recommend looking into that sort of AC Infinity ecosystem. It was very user-friendly, and I'm pretty happy with the build quality of these fans. I was saying about damage to the emergent leaves. Here we got my roto. I didn't chop off this emergent, and you can see there's some holes and some little pitting and whatnot, and yeah, that was just, I think, caused by a little bit of fungus on the curled up emergent leaf, but it's since resolved itself and it isn't spreading. I wasn't planning on talking about this one, but I saw it and I have to. This is my Ace of Spades crossed with Cuneo Lens. This was bred by Justin Jones. You can see absolutely stunning foliage. I'm thoroughly obsessed with this plant. This was, I believe this was the first caterpillar leaf. Yeah, this was the first caterpillar leaf. You can see, beautiful plant. I'm gonna get, it's so tippy. I'm gonna give it an up pot when this leaf is a little bit harder, and I'm just so excited about it. I absolutely love the combination of two of my favorite plants, and it really, I think, got the best of both. Here is my Dorito port. I figured I'd talk about it because I recently repotted it back into the same pot it was in, but I did that because I noticed that its last few leaves were all the same size. So when I gave it, let me explain why. All the leaves were the last same size, and that's usually a warning sign for me that there's something going on with the root system. There was no yellowing or dropping of the lower leaves, so I wasn't really worried about some sort of catastrophic root rot or stem rot. However, the lack of sizing up is telling me that it's struggling and directing some of its energy into rooting. So when I unpotted it, I noticed that it looks to have been recovering from some root rot, that all was starting at about the same level in the pot, which with these kind of pots usually tells me that I overfilled it and the bottom of the pot inside was sitting either in the water or very, very close to the water, and too much of it was going up into the pot, which again would just rot all the roots at the very bottom. The root rot wasn't spreading, and the roots that had rotted had all branched, so the plant would have been fine if I left it. However, it was good to get in there and clean it up. And so if you ever have a plant that, isn't big and flowering and you've noticed it's stalled out and it isn't sizing, you might want to check and make sure the roots are happy. Here we have another form of rehab that's now doing pretty well. This is my radicans. It's got a cute little flower. It's got a new leaf on the way. There's a little bit of damage to the leaf, but that was just from getting stuck in the cataphyll. That sometimes just happens. The plant is so funny because it just crawls along the surface. Oh my god, it has roots trying to escape the pot. This thing definitely needs an up pot. I attempted to pollinate it. I don't really expect anything out of it. I had some extra pollen, so I figured it'd be fun to try Wonder Boy on it. Very, very hardy. I think this is would be a great one even in ambient. If the only thing holding you back from getting a radicans, sorry, the cat. If the only thing holding you back from getting a radicans is you're afraid you're gonna kill it. The plant seems crazy hardy. Here is another plant that's been doing really well. This is my Monstera deliciosa aurea. This is not one of the Borsigiana, this is the large form. The reason it's doing so well and one of my favorites right now is it doesn't do, look, there's no browning on any of my leaves. And if you've grown the Borsigiana aurea, that any sort of sectoral and even the marbling will just brown and keep browning, and there's not much you can do to stop it. This one doesn't seem to do any sort of browning. So nothing I'm doing any different. It's just seems to be different genetics at play. This video wouldn't be complete if I didn't bring out my Ace Cuneo that has been looking like this since I've been growing it. Same batch as the one I showed earlier. This one is just always doing this horrid orange ringing. This is definitely way worse than usual, and that's because I repotted it. I chopped off all its leaves, repotted it with just this one, so I think this leaf is being sucked back to root. I moved it from pond because that's what I had it in for the longest time, and whenever you have this kind of discoloration or stuff, I was just trying to eliminate potential variables, moved it to tree fern, That way it got a total soil refresh in case there's any sort of accumulation of salts or anything causing the issue. It's continued to be hideous. I'll grow it a little bit more, see if it can't shake this sort of diseased look. Yeah, if it can't shake the look, maybe it wasn't meant to be. It's also smaller than the rest of the batch. Sometimes plants just aren't meant to last in our collections forever. Here I've got a Carla clone from Woohoo Tropicals. See, I got it as this little rehab with these 2 leaves. It's got a new leaf on the way, and it's got beautiful, beautiful roots. It's lifted itself out of the pot even by its roots. So I'm very pleased that this thing has bounced back, and I'm excited to see what its leaves look like, because its little ones it has are quite dark. So curious to see what a fresh leaf looks like. Oh yeah, so this one's just ugly. Healthy, but ugly. Definitely gonna move it to a square pot when it finishes this new leaf. Okay, we've got a success story from the last time I did a video on this. Here we've got my Lapolanum. I think in the last video it was a stump. So this is one of 2 pieces I turned it into. Both pieces are doing well. This is just the bigger one. Yeah, I think I cooked it. I had it in no drainage in sort of a warm spot, and it did not seem to like that. So moving it into these little net pots and putting it on a bottom shelf. Yeah, it was also in a tent, and now this is regrown in a bin. So I think it could definitely be grown in the tent. It just, I think, got fried and needed a chance to bounce back. Here we've got a success story. This is a Splendidum. Definitely have the most insane petiole texture. This one's been doing really well, growing in a bin. Very excited. Seems to like the pond, sitting really wet in a bin. Happy little plant. Here we've got my SP Purple. It's definitely seen better days. This is one of the ones that I think I really need to, intervene with and repot. It's been in it. I think it's in straight tree fern. It's been in it for quite a while now because I was growing it from this cute little mini mid-cut. Newest leaf is a little ugly, which is why I think I'm extra motivated to repot it. It has a new leaf on the way and it looks healthy, so I'll probably wait for that one to finish. But this plant has the tiniest, thinnest little roots. Very different from other Anthurium. So I think I'll definitely be keeping it in high humidity, but just giving it a new pot and some fresh substrate. The reason I keep mentioning the fresh substrate is giving fresh substrate is a really easy way to eliminate any potential salt buildup as a potential cause for your issue. As this one is really small, it's not using much nutrients, sitting in the nutrient solution, even without frequent changes, can cause an accumulation of salts that the plant isn't using. I think this is the last plant I'm going to talk about today. This is the King of Spades. It's the one I did in the quote-unquote like rescuing a plant from Facebook Marketplace video. So this is the original leaf. It's the first leaf I got in my care. It's got another leaf on the way. So after I put it into that setup I had in the video, the original video with it, I left it in that container until I noticed good rooting around the edge. And then when I took it out, I propped three pieces off of it, plus this top cut here. And the plant has really just taken off since. Yeah, I think the plant just needed to be, fed and get some TLC and it would be totally fine. That's sort of what I expected when I purchased it. And that's, obviously why I did. I figured it'd be not too bad to rehab, just need some time since, King of Spades are pretty slow. Yeah, very neat, very happy with it. It's got great shape and color. Should be an excellent addition to the collection, and I might even breed with it since it's looking really good. I think that is going to end the video today. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want more content from me, make sure you check out the Instagram. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Bye.